Carmen wants to see you. I have a problem that needs to go away. Her name is Phyllis.
I knew he'd turn on me. Armin hired you to kill me, right?
You know I don't do that type of thing. You know I never take no for an answer.
Good luck to you, my friend.
Uh, he wrote this character Don, and he said, "Look, this is incredibly. I mean, it's a difficult character, and I kind of wrote it with you in mind. And I'm a sucker for anyone's vision, so I read it, and I read it in one sitting. And oddly, that's a kind of a big litmus test for me if I can do it and not get up and walk around. And I read it, and I said yes, and then it took 2 years. It took 2 years to try to get it together. And then we had a kumbaya moment where we went to an Armenian restaurant in Glendale, and I said, I know the perfect person for this. And he goes, I happen to love Carrie Coon. And I said, let's see if I can kind of hook her in here. And we did. And she said yes. Within an hour, she read it, which no one in Hollywood does. She promised
I'm a
me
fast
that.
reader.
Yeah. And when people see her performance in this, I mean it. I think they're going to be blown away. She's the new leading lady.
Yeah, I mean, she's a hoot. I loved reading her, and I mean, maybe I shouldn't admit it, but her energy is actually much closer to my real life energy. So in some ways, Phyllis is the closest character to myself I've ever played. I mean, I don't think people expect me to be like that, but I am. I'm a very energetic person. And she was very familiar to me in that way. And also I love just getting invited into this genre that requires some physical comedy and some action. And, it's just so rare that I get asked to do that sort of thing. And so it's always a delight. And then when you get to do it with Shea, who is one of our most talented and richest and actors alive, working alive, you always know you're in good hands when you see Shea Whigham in a thing. But he's always very transformative, and his characters are always really thinking, and you always believe what he's doing. And it's hard to play a character that's not speaking and still compel, and Shea absolutely does that, and it's a pleasure to act with him. That's fun. I mean, it was exactly what you think. We just had a ball. Shea was really shoveling dirt on my face. Shea really doesn't know how to use a phone. Oh, that's very authentic. Um, we certainly had a great time in the garage. It's a fine line. That physical comedy stuff is, you don't want to play the comedy. You're trying to play the reality of the moment, and you can find yourself getting away from you sometimes. So we would kind of catch ourselves and pull it back. And you have to trust your director too. And I mean, we had such a great ensemble. Max is so funny, and Glenn is fantastic, and Troy Metcalf is the actor who plays Artie, and he was so game. I mean, we put him through it in that garage. So a shout out to him because he was extraordinary, really amazing. It was so fun to do. Well, we knew we were going to wear those clothes every single day, right? So there was a lot of consideration, and I feel like the color of Shay's shirt, the yellowing of Shay's shirt became something really important to track, right?
I thought this one I was really this is what I thought he wore, and I said, "Listen, man, that's what he was so amenable. Jeffrey wasn't so locked in and precious." And I said, "Look, I know it's going to be bland, but that's Don, and that's and we want to see him grow throughout this piece and go through something." But like the arm, Don's arm, that comes from a real play. That's a friend of his that whose arm got messed up in a biking accident, and so he had to carry that through. And so everybody would say they'd be out and they'd be like, "Hey, what happened to your arm?" And his buddy would go, "What arm?" And that'd be the big, So all of this was, it's just a real personal film, and therefore that lends itself to surprise you in places that you never thought you never see coming in this thing. So I think it is a throwback.
Mm-hmm. He's great. You know, Shea has said they really needed to find somebody who could play the menace, but also be able to deliver the pathos in that moment. It's a sneaky twist that you don't see coming. And you have a lot of actors that can do one or the other, but not everybody can do both. And Glenn really delivers. And we shot in the Glendale mansion first. So he had to come in hot and just do all his stuff in those interiors right away in the first couple of days of shooting, right, Shea?
Yeah. Look, man, there are secret weapons that I call them in what we do, and they are actors, and they are brilliant at their craft. Carrie's right at the top of my list, and Glenn, he came in Boardwalk. I'll never forget. He came in Boardwalk, and Tim Van Patten and I and Steve Buscemi were like, "That's a great actor." And then Waco, Mike Shannon and I, an actor dropped out, and I said, "I got the guy," and he got on a plane and came out and delivered. So this, along with Max and Troy, but we knew we needed a baller, man. We needed somebody who could come in and go to that place 3/4 of the way through the movie, to really go to that place, man. Otherwise, if you get caught winking at the camera and something like this, you're done. And I'm not, it's too hard to make these things that I try to, if I get a say in it, which I had a little say in this, I'm bringing the best of the best. And that's who these people are.
For me, Phyllis is such a survivor. And the thing that struck me about her when I first read the script was her relentless positivity. And I find that some people are born with a resilience that is inexplicable. You can throw anything you want at them that would crush any other human being, and somehow they survive. And some people I love very dearly have lived their lives that way. And I always wonder, it's like, is it something you're born with, or is it something you learn? And it feels with Phyllis, it feels like it's innate. And that was very instructive. So I didn't necessarily think of her darkness because I don't think she thinks of her darkness. She is living moment to moment in survival mode. And if she's grifting, she absolutely believes the story she's telling. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. And so that's, I guess, what I really embraced about her and what made her really fun to play.
And Don, like on the page, I have to be careful that you never can play a boring character boring. Don's not boring. Don, I said very early on to Jeffrey, I have to be affected by this woman. It can be in looks. It came in a lot of looks, especially in the car early on. And I said, that tells a story, and we can't be afraid to have to go, "Hey, what are you doing back there in the back seat?" Nah, nah, nah. It's none of that. It's in the looks. She starts to get to him in a beautiful way because these two need each other at this point in time in life, and they don't really know they need each other. And that's interesting to watch on screen.
Mhm. As you can imagine, the scenes I've been privileged to are for a kid who grew up in the 80s when those movies were just playing on TV all the time. I mean, I'm gonna hear that music for the rest of my life. You know, I was in a room with Dan and Ernie and Bill when they were like saying goodbye to a Harold Ramis on film. And I got to be in the room feeling the poignancy of that absence for them as actors, as people, as friends who lost someone. I mean, that is like the deepest insight into that franchise one could ever hope to have. And so really it's just like the privilege of being invited into that intimacy is just something that fans like you would would just kill for, you know? And here I am, you know, it's something that's happening in my life just very unexpectedly, and nothing I could have guessed in 1986 when I was, you know, eating Cheetos in front of the TV. I never would have foreseen that for myself. So it's something I can't quite really wrap my head around, honestly.
Armin will kill you.
Don't.
Ah!